Madman Plant. Let's take a step into the world of Madman Plant and hear the journey behind every leap and the passion and perseverance that it takes to grow. Organically Blunt Show, a podcast that's about cannabis and the lifestyle that surrounds it, with real conversations, whether you're a novice or a professional grower. Light up and join the conversation. Let's get organically blunt. Comes to genetics, we trust Seedsman Genetics, a seed bank that has been in business for over 20 years. So head on over to Seedsman and use coupon code Organically Blunt. Popping jars, cure, store, and save your terps with TerpLock technology. Grow bags, your solution for auto curing and cannabis storage, along with customized design solutions. Make sure to use coupon code Organically Blunt at checkout. As the soil and amendments, we trust Country Roots because we like to know what we're putting in our body is organic and it is the best that can be made locally. So head on over to countryroots.com and tell them Organically Blunt sent you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Organically Blunt. I am Jay Blaze, your host, and this evening I have the pleasure and the opportunity to have Madman Plant with us. Welcome to the show, brother. How you doing?
Dude, thanks for having me, man. I'm doing awesome. What about yourself?
I'm doing excellent. Like I said, that had to have been the fastest I've ever put this show together for someone, and I'm just appreciative that you had some time in your schedule to come on the show. I know we've been bouncing back and forth for about a week now, and we made it happen. So here we are.
We are here, man. This is awesome. Thank you so much for having me as a guest.
Definitely. So we're going to dive right into it, and I know we want to answer the first question that everybody's going to ask, and I'm sure you know the question. I've already asked it prior, but for everybody else, let's answer the question. Everybody's going to want to know, why do you wear the mask? And
okay, so pretty much the simple and short question, which we have a full podcast about this, is in Virginia in 2020 in November, it was still illegal. And I wanted to make YouTube as well as show off my garden. So I put on the mask to protect myself and not out myself. And then all of a sudden, it became a branding thing. And I actually recently asked people in a poll if I should take the mask off. And 68% of people said no, they like it. So it has definitely become a brand and an avatar. But it was once a way to protect my identity because we were technically in a legal state. Now that we're in a legal state because of the law change, it's more the avatar. So when we're at events and traveling on our tour, when you meet me in person, I have it off. When we go on camera, I'll put it on.
Sure. That's awesome. Now, I was going to say, man, because I've seen a lot of pictures of you with people that I've had on the show and friends of mine. And I'm thinking to myself, how can he bear to wear that like in Vegas when it's hot and like, does it become uncomfortable? I mean, just being honest.
Yeah, so I personally have a love and hate with this mask, more so most times I hate and an annoyance because it's like, damn, I want to film some content. Well, I don't have a mask on me, so I guess I can't film any content. So the answer is in Vegas, I actually forgot my mask, but I still shot podcasts anyway. So there will be a couple podcasts with me without the mask.
Wow.
When it comes to the heat, I'm not going to die in this thing. So for the audience sake, there may be a time if I'm out at an outdoor event and it's blistering hot, you may or may not see me with or without the mask, kind of like Marshmallow or any of these guys that have, Dead Mouse, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The mask is my brand. It's my avatar. It's what people look for. It's what helps me stand out. So it's definitely here to stay.
That's awesome. Yeah, I did a set for Dead Mouse when he first came.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, a long time ago. And
that had to have been like '09, '10. I don't even remember the year, but I'm a freelance photographer outside of this. So I was signed by a big event that some people know called the Electric Forest Festival.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they get about 50,000 people a year. And I was one of the photographers for the first couple of years. And honestly, it wasn't for me. So I'm not an electric music guy, honestly. I'm from the country, so I'm a little more redneck, unfortunately.
Yeah, right. There's nothing wrong with that. I personally am like you. I'm a photographer as well. In real life, outside of cannabis, I own a pretty big production company. So that's kind of like the caveat to everything. But like you, I definitely prefer like the bands versus the DJs.
Yep.
I was at this place called Jerry Garcia Farm in West Virginia once at a
Oh,
party,
wow.
and it's a private property and it's really cool. And I mean, there were people tripping on acid, like singing to like 5 in the morning. And there was one girl who was very small and very short, and she sounded and looked just like Janis Joplin, and she was
Wow.
amazing. You know what I mean? So I definitely
Definitely.
agree on that.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a festival last year. Speaking of psychedelics and all that, somebody ate a 14-gram mushroom, and they were another podcaster. I don't know who they were, honestly, but I can tell you it was not a good experience. It was not. And I had to help because my friends were the host. I had to help them like care for this person, and we're like, we can't just let them go home. Luckily
Yeah.
we had medical on stage because this guy started taking his clothes off and everything. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
when I used to work so I was part of a group called Bonfire Crew. So here in Virginia, in Louisa, it's a lot of farmlands, but they have like huge parties, like real big parties. And I was part of the Bonfire Crew, and like we did like security and made sure that people were okay, and if they were having bad trips or whatever. Well, one of the events, we got a call that somebody was naked in somebody else's car, and we went there, and sure enough, this dude was tripping, and he was naked, and he was in somebody else's vehicle, and I had to sit with him in the front seat, and I was like, you're in somebody else's car, right? And he had no fucking clue. He thought it was his car, and it was weird. I mean, I've seen like the heaven and hell. I've literally seen people on their
Oh
knees
yeah.
in the moonlight begging for God to save them.
Yep, I've been there too. Every event we do every year. This is an annual thing.
Yeah.
With it's called Michigan Gyms and Genetics, and it's crazy because you never know what you're gonna run into.
No.
All walks. It's insane. But this is about you, and I want to dive more into the story about you and kind of how you got into cannabis. So that being said, how old were you when you first tried it, and where did you get it from?
Okay, so the first time I ever tried cannabis, I was, I think, 13 or 14. And the first time I smoked it, nothing happened. I didn't get high. I didn't have anything. And all my friends were like, this is amazing. And I was like, you guys are stupid. And then I didn't really mess with it again. And then um, later, and like late to like when I was 23 is or around 23 is when I really got into it and started smoking. So unlike some of these other people, I'm not like a legacy grower, or I haven't been doing this since the 90s, or never been to Amsterdam or Humboldt County or under these claim to fames. I'm just your average smoker who turned grower under the idea by my friend that it was easy, and that it was a lot of fun. So pretty much that's kind of like my background. So I started because when I first started smoking, I used to get like panic attacks, and
Oh yeah.
everything would be like very heavy. I'd have to like sleep it off, And then I was like, well, if everybody else can smoke and have a good time, then what the fuck is wrong with me? So, I kept, slowly by slow and getting to know myself. And then, I think also doing a lot of psychedelics, during that time period, really helped too. Kind of helped me, learn about myself and kind of really get engaged. So that's kind of like my history with it. So it's, I'm just turning 35. So just over about 10 years of smoking, and then almost 3 years of growing.
That's impressive, though. You're doing things, man, and you got to give yourself a pat on the back sometimes. I mean, you inspire me. You're friends with High Again, which they're friends of mine, and they're from Michigan as well. So it's kind of like, I inspired by them as well to continue to educate, and you guys do a great job of it. So continue to do the great work because you're right up there with everybody else.
Well, that's what I was trying to tell people when we talked about this on the podcast a little bit earlier with some other people when I was at GrowGen earlier today, is the fact that whether you just support cannabis, whether you actually smoke it, whether you actually grow it, whether you're part of like the legislate and fighting for on the bill side or whatever, you're part of the community. And the idea is to saturate this community so everybody and their mom grows and smokes weed. So you get to a point where the majority rules and the majority favors it. So how are you going to take it away again? But and that's the kind of thing that is I'm talking about with people is like we get so sidetracked by all this stupid drama on Instagram and people feeling certain type of ways, and it's like at the end of the day they don't have to ruin it for us. We can do it ourselves, and it's kind of one of those things where I talk about this a lot, where it's very hypocritical to have a community that's all about growing, but in reality they're not about growing. They're about tearing each other down and, talking bad about each other and, saying, oh, I'm better than this. And this guy doesn't know what he's doing and blah, blah, blah. And it should be the fact that we're so excited and so eager to learn and grow as individuals and people and as a community. That's the real influence behind all this. And I think, the more we get sidetracked, the more and more it's easier for them just to, decide for us, and I think when we look at like alcohol and stuff like that, and I'm not against alcohol, but how many people die a year in alcohol? How many people will lose their jobs because of being drunk on the job? How many people will be in an accident or die? But every year, come hang out, come to happy hour, blah, blah, blah. You promote something that causes cancer, that causes families to be separated, domestic abuse, suicide, all these different things. But yet it's nationally funded all over the world, internationally, everywhere has beer.
Definitely.
Well, if we know so much about alcohol, but we then continue to make it, and then we have a property like cannabis that causes nothing, that can provide resources for the world, that can literally save the world in a lot of different ways and people. But no, we're not interested in that. There's no medical value. There's no reason why, other than people just getting high, people would want to use cannabis. But then we go right back to alcohol, and I can't tell you how many alcoholics have had a problem with me smoking, and it's like, just shut up and drink your beer.
Right.
I'm gonna go smoke, and you do you.
Yep.
So, not to get on that rant, but I just I think it's very backwards and hypocritical of society and the way that it actually works.
Exactly. And that's a good point that Crimson said. When has alcohol provided a medical benefit when drinking it? Rubbing alcohol has been the only medical use. Yeah, definitely. I agree. Yeah. See, my unfortunately, and I will be completely bluntly honest here. I'm against alcohol. I haven't touched it in over 15 years.
Nice.
My dad has been in prison for over 35 years as an alcoholic. He's sitting there right now, and
What?
he is 62 years old, and he's been there my whole life. And you know, that's the reason right there. I'm like, I'm not ending up like that. Yeah, that is not for me. So,
Share that experience a little bit. What was your dad in prison for?
it's considered OWI. Originally, he went in back in the 80s. He was like 89. I was like 5 years old, and because I'm 39, and he basically he went in there and as an alcoholic, but he was on a high-speed chase with the police in Pennsylvania, and he rolled the car multiple times after they catched him. Mind you, he blew the spike strips. They had the helicopter on him, and when he got out of the vehicle, he was driving a 79 Cadillac Eldorado with a 500 big block, fully blown and built. For example, it was a built-up car back in the day, and he beat the living snot out of 5 police officers before they got him to the ground. Well, he got out of the prison, and I met him for the first time. I brought him to town, and then he left, and I didn't hear from him for a year. And I'm like, what the hell? You know, he ain't even replying. What's going on? And he violated his parole, went back to prison because he got in another car accident out there drinking and driving after he was already out on parole, and rolled the car, and they had to remove his spleen. And so he got out of did 5 more years, got out again, and did it basically again, and violated parole. And they said, well, we're going to have you serve the rest of your sentence. And now he's not available to get out until April 1st of 2026. And it's like, man, you ain't never going to learn. Like, I tried to get him on cannabis and get him off the alcohol, and he just keeps going back to it. But he was an orphan as a kid. You know, he grew up out of the state, in and out of houses, in and out of being adopted. So I guess he used that for his crutch, you know, and it wasn't so much the cannabis.
Yeah, well, you know, and that's the thing too, is you can't always just blame it on substance alone. You really have to look at like nurture versus nature, you know,
Right.
the different things on a more like a psychological level. And that's kind of what frustrates me about in today's world is we're not so worried about the understanding of why. Most people, and this is just my opinion, but most people in society just want the problem to go away.
Right.
Actually deal with the situation. They want it to be eliminated. Just like my son Logan. My son Logan has autism, but he's very high functioning. So not all the times would you know. So with that being said, there's sometimes where, like for instance, like washing his hair is a very big struggle. It always has been. He's 9 years old, and it's still a very difficult task, right?
Yeah.
And all the doctors just want to throw him on meds. They're like, oh, put him on Ritalin, put him on Concerta. I'm ADHD. I used to be on Ritalin and Concerta. And
Same here.
It made me like a zombie. You know what I mean? So this year he turns 9. I'm going to be giving him CBD for the first time. And then eventually, when it's appropriate, and, you know, and I think this is a discussion that you need to have with your own family when, you know, when it involves children and stuff like this. But, you know, eventually, you know, THC and allowing him to understand, just like kind of with me, like earlier this year, I was a bunch of depression meds and anxiety meds because after my car accident, dealt with like a lot of like survivor's guilt. And then I got off the meds, and then that's why they gave me honey. So now instead of the medicine, honey is trained by a professional trainer to work with me. And honey travels all over the United States with me. This year she'll be in all 15 states. So
wow.
she was just in LA and Phoenix, and about a week not next week, but the week after, we'll be in Boston. But the idea is, people should be taught how to deal with themselves, you know, mentally, spiritually, financially, intellectually, and I don't think that we take the time as people to invest in ourselves like we should. You know what I mean? And I think
Sure.
if you just had, somebody or someone that, and that's why I think your circle of influence is so important, is because what your circle of influence is doing is ultimately what you're doing. So if you're around five, very successful and smart people, you're ultimately going to be the sixth. And then, obviously what the opposite is. So with that being said, I think a lot of this too is we need to change the way we think. And I think a lot of the way we think is also based on perception. Definitely a lot of my thoughts, I think, and that's what I deal with my therapist a lot too, is I think a lot of your thoughts are based on how you see the world and how you see people. So when like for instance, right? Like let's say you don't value yourself very much. So every time you meet somebody, you're going to assume that they have little value too. Like how could they be important if I'm not important? And the idea is that we all are value. We all have value. But what is value, and what does that mean individually to each person? And it's not just like having a podcast. It's what you bring to the table as a person, as a human. Morally, spiritually, physically. And I think if we could just focus on that, a lot of those things that we see as problems in the world, they get smaller. The problem is there's two ways to look at a mountain, and there's two different points of view, from looking from the top down and the down up, and you got to be understanding that they're both the same perspective. It just takes two different outcomes. So I go on like a motivational tangent because I want to be a motivational speaker one day. So just tell me to shut up.
Hey, I like it, dude. I'm the same way. A lot of people say when they get me going and I get on my passionate talk, and they're like, and I don't know why. People say, are you Masonic? And I'm like, no, I'm not Masonic. I just have my own beliefs, and I'm one of them people that I just have my own belief, and like I'm ready to go. I'm excited, but I also believe in spiritual things and all that. So I'm the same way. Definitely, I can understand. I do have a few questions in chat. I do want to kind of jump onto. Crimson Grows wants to know, what's your favorite strain you've grown so far that you have smoked and evaluated?
All right, so favorite strain would be my Cherry Avenue that we grew on the Grow series right before I had all my mite problems. It's made by NV Genetics. They're no longer around as a genetics company, but you can still buy the seeds. And I still have a couple of seeds left, and I plan to up on a couple more packs. But the Cherry Avenue is probably my most favorite one. And then my most exciting experience would probably be what I'm doing right now, which is actually being to make an impact, tell other people's stories and really
Definitely.
give a platform just like you to other people to really engage, thrive, and grow, and have an opportunity to not only do this on myself, but I have a full team behind me, plus we have some really great sponsors. So that would probably be my favorite experience, is the one that I'm experiencing right now.
That's impressive. That it really is, and a lot of people don't realize the backside, like I said earlier, of how much work is put into making content. Like it's a full-time job. People think it's so easy, and it really isn't.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, I'm a one-man team, so I can imagine, once you get to the caliber you're at with a team, it's got to be somewhat stressful at times.
The thing that I would like people to remember is it's not about how big or small you are. At the end of the day, we are still a very small micro, influencer, still at the very bottom of the totem pole. We don't even have 10,000 followers, so we're pretty much still nobodies. But what we're doing and what you see is consistency, grit, determination, professionalism, integrity. These are all the elements of yourself. And that's why I was talking about, the value of yourself, what you become, who you become. This is what people care about. They even did a study recently on a thing that said that numbers don't mean shit. It's community. How many people in your community are actively talking about you, engaging in your live videos, commenting on your videos, listening to the information and education that you put out? That's what's important, is what you can build, how you can take people that you don't even know and make them feel like they're somebody special. And a digital presence that takes special individuals like you, like me, and everybody that's watching, anybody that's on social media. That's what I'm saying. Your story, and as a video production company, we've owned our company for over 14 years. We work with multi-million-dollar companies to startup companies, But the biggest thing is your story. Why should people care? What do you bring to the table? Because, see, one thing that you should also take away from this is you should always bring more than you're asking for. So when you work with a company or you work with, like an organization or whatever it is, it's what can you leverage that you have that could be value. So like, for instance, like you have editing skills because you edit your own videos. You're a photographer, so you can shoot content. So there's all these things about Organically Blunt that adds up to why you're next level. It's not just sitting, like you said, it's not just sitting fancy in front of the computer, just talking. At the end of the day, nobody cares. What people care about is, like I said, is that impact, that movement, that community.
Yep, you nailed it right there. So I got a couple questions I want to ask you, and that let's jump back onto the growing side of things. And that is, what is your preferred way of growing? Like, do you do soil? Do you do hydro? What do you prefer the most?
Okay, so I'm more of a hybrid grower. So when I first started, I started with autoflowers and living soil. And I did Gaia Green and worm castings, and I had a blast and did really, really well. Then in my grow series, when we did the tents in my room before it was a grow room, we were using Flex lineup, using the Flex systems with the pumps and the lines and everything. That's when we did that Cherry Avenue. And I like that. Now downstairs where we're setting up, where we had two 4x4s right now, but we just got a new AC Infinity 4x8 that'll switch that out. We're going to be doing the Coco, which we do partial upstairs. So the 4x8 downstairs is designed for perpetual growing, so fast turnarounds. Like we're trying to get it down to every 6 weeks. Like we harvest. So the upstairs will hold the clones in the veg period. They'll come down, they'll go right into the system. We're doing 4 on 4 on each side and then doing a scrog and letting them go type deal. But the idea is the grow series, we're going to focus on teaching people how to grow upstairs. Downstairs, we're going to teach people about speed and proficiency and what it's like to harvest 6, 7, 8, 9 times a year versus maybe 2 to 3, if that. Because typically, you're dealing with a 3-month veg period or so. Because the first 3 weeks of the plant's life, you're just getting the true leaves. You're not even seeing cannabis leaves yet. And then you got to size it out. So, you think that, and then take another 5 to 6 weeks of, so it can take a lot of time. So I prefer both. I honestly like living soil better, only because it's more like a set it and forget it. If you only need to water 3 to 5 days, You can top dress. You can just mix in your worm casting, mix, water, done. With, obviously salts and other things. It's milliliters and pHing and everything like that. And I've actually heard from somebody, maybe you can fill me in on this, but somebody said that they don't pH at all in cocoa and they've had great results. So I was like, well, maybe I'm going to try that on the next run just to see what happens, because I've always wondered, because I've grown plants in very bare necessity type setups. And I mean, they're not the best, but still work. So I'm wondering
Right.
how much input like a pH really does as far as nutrient intake. Because if you use a product like Hygrozyme, one of my sponsors, on their micro beneficials, what that does is that accelerates the uptake on the root zone. So that beneficial focuses on root uptake and making it easier on the plant to use those properties right away. So I wonder about that, because people talk about, like pH, and pH controls, its ability to uptake and stuff like that, for lockout. So
I've never done cocoa. I'm straight a soil guy. I mostly do living soils myself. So I couldn't comment on the cocoa side of things. I honestly personally don't pH because I have that buffer, and it kind of works out great for me every time. But I do know from one of my friends that does cocoa, the only thing I do know is he pre-washes his cocoa before he uses it. That's all I know. I am not a cocoa guy. I will be honest with you. So I
so
have no knowledge on the subject.
So cocoa is the only real difference between living soil and cocoa is cocoa doesn't maintain any properties that serve the plant or the roots. So for instance, living soils, you have microcolonies and beneficial fungi and living bacteria and all these enzymes, and the soil is quote unquote alive. So there's all these properties in that are constantly making their own food, their own things that replenish the plant. So therefore, when your inputs are less, because the soil is quote unquote alive, and then we're talking about living soil. With cocoa, you're talking about like corn husk or some type of material like that that has no way to maintain those types of inputs, beneficial stuff like that. So when you feed in cocoa, whatever, like, so this is my reservoir. Like, I've nuded up everything. I pour this in. The plant's going to take this up immediately. So whatever is in here, the plant's going to start absorbing. When we go to
Wow.
live in the soil, what we're doing is we're feeding the soil. That's why like Hygro Ben is so great, because it works with the soil and the ability, because what happens is I feed this to the plant, the soil then has to break down whatever is in here to a
Yep.
chemical form, and then that can now be introduced to the root zone and now taken up. So that's why you have that delay. So when you feed living soil, that's why you also experience that longer veg period, because it takes 2 to 3 days for the plant to start really absorbing your feeding. You know what I mean? And that's why if you overfeed or you mess up with a true living soil, there's a lot of forgiveness. If I nuke this too high or whatever, especially like in a deep water culture where it's just running in its solution, like, it's veg or it's bloom, in 24 hours, your entire, 32 plants or however many you have could all be dead. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
cocoa, I would say, is a great intermediate, but I've also for weeks have just run water in cocoa, and my plants didn't turn yellow right away. They stayed
Wow.
healthy. They get to a point where obviously they're going to need food, but it's one of those things where I don't want people thinking that, oh my God, it's something that's serious. I don't want to try it. Definitely try it. You know what I mean? Get used to trying different things, because failure is part of anything. And you might enjoy it better, depending on your schedule, depending on how you like to plant or garden, depending on whether you're home a lot or you're gone a lot. Like if you're gone a lot, like a living soil with like an autopot system would be perfect for you, because you get a 32-gallon reservoir like I have. I don't have the autopot set up, but I'm just saying that if I did, you could probably go away for 5 or 6 days and it's self-watering, no electricity.
Yeah,
You could also go the Floraflex route. And now that you're introducing pumps, PVC, you kind of got to build it out. So there's definitely pros and cons.
definitely. Yeah, I just got our 5x5 set up, and I've got a 3x3 living soil bed in our tent, and cover crops, worms, the whole 9 yards, and lasagna layered it out, and it's fun. But I'm also running the blue mat system myself, and I've got a 20-gallon reservoir, and I can go away at a week at a time, and it maintains moisture level pretty consistently. But I still top it off in the morning myself, just because I like to have that hands-on approach a little bit more with my plants.
So with you, are you like you do trellis, you do heavy defoliation? What's kind of your method?
Well, this is my first living soil bed. Before I was more just like the Rain Science bags, and I was using AC Infinity self-watering bases and doing it that way. And I was running, 7-gallon for a long time, and now I'm running the 3x3, and I guess I was always an outdoor grower, and now I'm an indoor. So I'm kind of bringing that mentality inside and trying to make it work. I've always been mostly organic and very simple inputs, such as like powdered aloe, powdered coconut, taking fish fresh caught out of the lakes locally and burying them next to my plants, and using just topsoil and local grass-fed manures and stuff like that. I was very simple. So to get into the living soil side of things, it's a learning experience this season, alongside of everything I'm teaching too, because my best friend owns Country Roots Soil,
Nice.
and he's a geologist. He worked for the Michigan State University for some time, and now he's just doing his soil thing, and I'm helping push his brand and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, he's teaching me everything. We're doing forage classes. We're doing, garden planting classes coming up. We're doing different classes. He did a faux hash making class. We got that on our channel here. I mean, he's getting into a lot more educational stuff, and I'm his video guy, so I kind of get the chance to have that access to that content as well. So it's kind of a win-win for me, because I'm getting more education at the same time.
Sorry, I totally failed and dropped the mouthpiece there.
Hey, shit happens.
But that's awesome, dude, and that's what it's about, is using your talents and strategic partnership, and that's incredible, and you can use it to your benefit and help a lot of people. It's all about education, and when you can share that, especially when you come from a background like we do with video and photos,
Yep.
you have a very, very powerful weapon at your hands, and you can narrate any type of scenario or situation or demographic or whatever. And that's why it's so important, for anybody out there that's a creator or anybody that plays with cameras or does anything like with a cell phone, whatever, story is so important. And
Definitely.
what you're able to do and who you're able to align with and affect, and as a photographer, you already know, just like the level of people that you can truly network with, just with that camera.
Yeah, and the thing people don't realize is I do everything, the whole show. Everything you see in front of you is produced on a Samsung Galaxy S22. No lie. I do the whole show on it. Other than when I come in the studio and do the live interview, all the editing, everything is done on a cell phone. And people are like, man, that's impressive. Well, I wanted to think small. That was my idea. Was what if I got to travel to like California for a show someday, and I don't want to carry a bunch of equipment to make it happen. I want it all to fit in my carry-on bag. And that's when I just started figuring out how to do it with a cell phone more. And I'm got some mentors and business coaches now that are teaching me more and more on a weekly basis.
There. Yep.
Yep.
That's exactly what you need in your life, dude. When we're on the road, you need to take a look at these. This is what I use. So we have big production setups. So when we travel with what you'll see in Boston is everything goes on a crate. So that entire crate gets shipped to the convention center. But when we travel like I was today, I didn't want to use my big audio system. So these are
I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know wireless goes.
Yeah, the go-tos. And these things are amazing. They do good in loud environments. They're just around $500. But like I said, and even like you said, you don't need like Jack Ma, the creator of Alibaba, which is a Chinese internet, just for people that don't know. He said that you don't need to be the most successful. You don't have to have the most money. You don't even have to be the most resource. You just have to be the first. So with whatever it is that you're doing, whatever venture that you're taking on, the idea is who gives a shit? At the end of the day, nobody cares. Like, we have really like $10,000 cameras and some really nice equipment that we use for professional filming. But at the end of the day, nobody has ever asked me what camera I film with. None of our clients. Nobody cares. It's the story. It's the visuals. It's what you can create, and that's why I like to tell people that, it's like there's a movie, I can't think of the name, but it won an Oscar and it was shot on an $800 camera. And it had a very small budget for the movie.
Yeah.
Still won an Oscar.
Yep. My business coach, the guy who's mentoring me, he's from the UK. He's got a channel. He shot a whole commercial for BMW on a Samsung Galaxy phone and produced it and everything, and you would never even know it. And I'm just like, I want to learn how to do that. Well, we kind of developed a barter system. He wants to learn how to grow his own medicine. And
see?
Yes. And so each week he teaches me like a different skill on editing and production, and exchange I am going to teach him how to grow and germinate, and how to just basically produce his own medicine and quality. And he wants it, he don't want all that synthetic stuff. So like he's doing it because someone close to him has cancer and he wants to develop clean medicine. And I'm like, I'll help you out definitely, because you're going to help me out. And every week he's like, try that. He'll send me a video. He'll say, try these skills. But he's got a complete course online and everything you can take too. But he's personalizing it with me. And it's kind of nice because I get that one-on-one education. And I try to put it into each show. Like the next week I might try a different effect or a different edit or something like that, and try to see how it responds with the audience and see what they like and go from there. I have some microphones similar to what you have, but they're from a company called Newer.
Same. Newer is a great company. We have tons of that here.
Yep. And I use them a lot, but I thought about using them for the live stream, but I run everything old school. I'm talking like I've got the full mixer here. I've got the microphone. I'm running dual monitors.
Do you have a Rode or like a Tascam pod jack?
I've got a Zoom P8.
Okay, I have a Zoom F8, but it's the same thing. Mine's a field recorder for Zoom, but I use the the Tascam Pod Track, and it's the same thing as yours. And I love it. And is yours battery operated? Can you use double A's to power yours?
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that factor because you can go mobile with it, and that's what I take all over. And I have a Pelican case where I have all my
Okay.
headphones, and I can send you a link to
That
some
would be
really
cool.
good. Yeah, I bought it from B&H, and it's a kit, and you get the headphones and the microphone in a pack, and it's very affordable because I'm not in a position yet myself where I'm trying to spend $600 on the roadie mic that all the big time podcasters have.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because those
Yeah.
microphones, people don't know that those microphones can go up to 3,000, 6,000, ten
Oh
thousand
yeah.
dollars for a microphone.
Some of the other guys, they're using, a lot of guys use the Shure SMB
Yeah,
7B. And I'm like, I want that microphone, but I'm like, at the same time, like, I'm not going to spend that right now because I can't afford it. So,
yeah. You're like a
yeah,
$500 microphone, and
right.
it all sounds the same because everything's 32-bit float. And honestly, just like in photography, and you know this, it's better to have better lenses and an okay camera body than a really good camera body and shitty lenses. And just like with this scenario, it's the same exact thing. Like it's better to have an okay mic and a really good recorder like what you have that can do 32-bit float, because for those that don't know what 32-bit float is, what it is, it's the raw format of audio. So what that means is, like in video, and I don't know how you shoot, but I shoot an S log. So what this does is
Okay.
it's like a raw format. So you have JPEG, and think of JPEG as like this. So if this was a picture, this is JPEG. So it's one image. So and one shot, the camera records all the images, but what it's focused on is what it sees, right? Then you go to RAW. When you take the picture from RAW, it's recording all layers, highs, lows, darks, lights, everything. So it's taking all the information. With JPEG, it's only taking what it needs to produce the image. With RAW, it's collecting all data from that picture, which allows you to manipulate it better when you edit it. Gives you more
Right.
information about the profile. Because what happens is when you shoot video or shoot a photo, if you shoot white or all the way black, you can't get that back in editing. So, but when you shoot raw, the camera will record all layers, so you can pull in what you want and leave out what you don't. S-Log is the video version of that. And then
Okay.
moving forward, 32-bit float is the same version, like hypothetically, where it's going to record all levels of that audio. So this way, when you go to edit your audio, it's like the raw format, so you can edit it better and you can pull in a lot of noise, get rid of things. Like, I don't know if you've seen our podcast, but sometimes we've been right next to DJ booths and it's still loud, obviously, but we can take out the boom noises. And I can make a little video on how I do this, and I'll show you guys through the editing
Wow.
on how it is, because I have a course coming up to try to, and you should do it too. Make a course with your background, with your videos, your photos, and everything. But it's really cool. But like I said, with a good mixer, we're good in any aspect because we can control that. It's not like it's going on IMAX.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But man, that's impressive. You definitely inspire me on the video stuff because I was always audio. I was an audio podcast before I started video, and I have alopecia, which is an
Oh, shit,
autoimmune
okay.
disease. And I didn't want to show my face on camera because I used to not have hair, but I started using biotin and like coconut oils and avocado oils and hemp
Yeah,
oils to
secret. I
get
got
my hair back. Yep.
That's awesome. I need to learn the secret because I got patchwork. I have more
Yep.
hair on my balls than I do on my face, And I'm like,
Oh,
we
I
can't
know how that goes. Yeah.
arrange this, But that's
Yep.
awesome because my dream is to have like a nice thick beard, the one
Oh,
that
it took forever. And it's still not, people can't notice, but right here in the middle, it's missing here. I mean, I do a comb over like an old guy. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But hey, it's something I had to learn to live with, and but definitely, talking about your son and stuff earlier and stuff, I want to kind of touch on or your on that and stuff. You know, you say you want to administer CBD and stuff. I have a friend here in Michigan. Her name is Amy Carter, and she has a book out called Courage in Cannabis.
nice.
And she went to Congress because the reason she's in there, she went to Congress and fought them. The state of Michigan and Congress nose to nose for a new law that has been passed. It's called Jaden's Law. Jaden is her son, and he had seizures, and I don't know his medical condition, but and stuff. And she used to have to go to the school and sign him out at lunchtime and administer her medicine to him off campus and then bring him back to school. It was very inconvenient. And this law now allows them to administer the medicine as long as it's not smoking on campus at school.
Dude, that's awesome, and I would love if you would not mind sharing her information because I would love to get her story on our podcast as well. Because with Smoke Busters, our podcast is all about mental health, home growing cannabis, and then ultimately smoking cannabis. And like that story, we have, and like I'm sure like you have, I've talked to so many parents and different people who have the same story. When I was in Arizona last week or a week after, whatever it was, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I told the story of two people who were in wheelchairs that were told that they would never walk again.
Wow.
And their same RSO for 7 and 9 years were in wheelchairs. One was a medical condition and one was an accident from a work-related thing. And it just shows you the power, and that's why that's awesome that Jaden's Law exists and that there's people like that mom that fought. And, and that's what it's all about. And that's why these podcasts, your Instagram accounts, and like I keep bleeding myself dry saying this, but it's all relevant and important. Everybody is so important. You don't understand the value that you play. The idea is we need to collect all these stories and we need to start getting everybody on board with cannabis. Everybody loves it, supports it, wants it. Because when that happens, it doesn't matter about laws. It's the majority of people are already doing it. Now what?
Exactly.
So, that's awesome. I love hearing stories like that.
Oh, so do I. And that's the whole thing that drives me. I mean, when I come on your show next week, you're going to be blown away at my story. I know you are. There's so much detail that people are not going to believe. I have a unique story, and that's what fueled this and caused me to create this show. And we'll get into that next week. So you guys make sure we chime in and come over to Madman's podcast because you're going to definitely want to hear my story. But let's dig into your story just a little bit more. And I want to ask the famous organically blunt question that we ask everybody. But there is a rule to this question. And the rule on this question is very simple. You cannot think about the answer. I want the first thought that pops in your head. The first organic thought. So with that being said, if you could smoke with anybody dead or alive, who would it be and why?
My therapist.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Stutz. You check it out. It's with I can't remember the actor's name. He was the fat guy in the Wolf on Wall Street, the guy that quit his job with the curly hair. He lost a whole bunch of weight. He used to be big, but but no, I talked to and that's part of like the mental health and everything, and that I go through it too. But we talk every single week on Friday, and he because sometimes, like therapists sometimes are boring and they just listen. But my therapist and I have a very, very close like relationship, and like he knows all about smoke busters and Madman Plant and fully supports it and thinks that what I'm doing is awesome. And obviously, we I don't think we could smoke together unless we did like a private practice thing. But it would just be cool to, I don't even know if he smokes, but it would just be cool if we did, because you know, I've I think the biggest thing for me is I'm not where I want to be in life. And and sometimes, I'm not always okay, don't get this wrong when I say this. I love my life, but I'm not always happy with it. And I always see room for improvement, and I see the glimpses and the thoughts and ideas of where I want to be. And I'm also a very impatient person. So I put that on
Same
the
here.
record.
Yep.
So with that being said, you know, um, personally at 35, I thought I'd be a little bit further than I am now, but it is what it is. And just like in a lot of these songs, it's your life, and you
Yep.
just need to learn to enjoy it. And one of the things that I've been working really hard on lately too is being grateful and being appreciative of the things that we do have. And even if you're not an alcoholic, I don't and even if you're not religious, the serenity prayer can be applied in a lot of different portions of life. And one of the portions is, to control the things you're not in charge of, pretty much. I don't remember off the top of my head. And to be appreciative of those situations. And just like when we grow this big beautiful plant, we have to wait that time period so that plant can become those big beautiful buds. And just like our futures and our minds, we're doing the same thing. And why would you want to race something? Why would you want to um, rush something? And I'm a hypocrite on this every single day because I bitch and complain and I carry on. But it's only because, just like everybody else should have, is you should always want more. You should always question reality and your situation, and know that you're valuable enough to like take on anything you want to do. Sorry, I go off on tangent again.
No, that's good, dude. That's good. That is good information for anybody out there. So I got to ask one final question before we let you go here, and
Oh,
that is,
forever.
what is the next event they can find you at, and where can we connect with you at?
Okay, so guys, the biggest place is the website. If you're not a member of the website, you are missing out on giveaways, free downloadable files, exclusive interviews that are not on YouTube. These are with celebrities. I have my full backstory on there, how I almost got kicked out of the Freemasons for smoking weed. A lot of cool things. Most of the roadshow, the special stories, will be on the website. We also have YouTube, where we have 400 videos on YouTube. We have Instagram, but please sign up on the website, because as we move forward, that's where everything is going to be. We have a Discord community coming. I'm in a current Discord with my good friend Crimson Grows here for his Dead by Dawn genetics. So, great little plug for him. He's a great genetics company. You should check him out. Small batch breeder, but awesome. I'm currently growing his Holy Moly Donut shop, and it's coming out very
Oh,
nice.
cool.
But biggest thing is just Instagram, YouTube, and the website. It's really the hub for everything. And then next week, when we have you on Wednesday, it'll be the first time using SteamYard. So
Okay.
you might have to help me walk me through the setup, but I'm pretty excited about that, since we'll be able to go live on all these different platforms at once and everything.
Yep. That's
But
how we are right now. So it's kind of cool.
and then all the comments, even if they're coming in from different platforms, are in this one chat, right?
Yep. And we're live on Twitter right now. We're live in our Facebook group. We're live on YouTube. So I'm only streaming in 3 locations right now, but they also integrate with Twitch. which I haven't been over there yet. That is not. I'm not a gamer, and
I'm on
but
Twitch, but just for this.
yeah. I thought about making the switch over there, but I've got so much on my plate that I can't juggle another platform. And but it's great. It really is. And I use what they call Streamlabs Talk Studio. So I pay. This isn't free. It has a monthly cost. And right now we're currently only airing at 720p or 1080p, I think it is. But we can go up to 4K. I just haven't upgraded yet because my computer can't handle it yet. My computer is real old. But long story short, it's all plug and play. You can change the background. You can put the logo on there. It's got reactions. It's got sharing screens. I mean, it makes it, and it's browser based, so nobody has to have an app or software to use it. So it makes it really, really great for us because I'm not tech savvy when it came to the video stuff, like I said. So this was the easiest way for me. I tried Zoom and I didn't like it, so I tried that.
Yeah,
I tried yeah, and I tried OBS, and that wasn't for me. And I was just like, I need something easy and quick. I'm on the road, drop and plug and play, and this was it. So I'll try to help you if I can, definitely.
No, definitely. No, that's awesome. But thank you, again for having me on here and allowing me to interact. I definitely can't wait to get your side of the story. I will encourage people to sign up on the website, go to the exclusive interview section, and there's a podcast called The Man Behind the Mask. It's about an hour long, but it goes into my story in full detail about mental health and about a lot of different things and experiences. And it's a really great podcast. I definitely encourage you to watch that. And then you can see on the event page on the website every state that we're going to be in throughout this year. If you're going to be there, please let me know, and I'll make sure to get you on the podcast. We got swag bags. We got a 10 by 20 foot booth at all of these locations. So we have full setup. And if you're going to be at MJ BizCon this year, we are going to be there with our booth for the first time on the floor, which is very exciting. So I'm very excited about that. And a lot of big things are coming. We will have in-person classes. So if you're here in Virginia near the Fredericksburg area or Richmond area or Charlottesville, we got that set up coming. And then we also Virginia Beach. And then we're going to have the same classes, but online as well. And those will be free to members. And the website's free. And you can sign up. And we're going to have our bubble wash class coming up again. And a lot of other great things. So a lot of great stuff to, keep you guys entertained. And even if you know how to do this stuff, come in and share your, inputs in the chats with other people, and encourage new growers. I talk and specialize in the new grower because that's still where I am. I'm only 3 years in. I'm not an expert, and I don't claim to be. I just do and teach what works for me. And if it's different for you, that's the beauty of this. You know what I mean? So I'm no expert. I'm just somebody that's trying to put out a platform where people don't have to feel judged or like they're not good enough or, oh, I don't have enough experience to go and talk to those people. You do. The fact that you want to do this alone is good enough. And there's more than enough people in this chat right now that I'm sure would be willing to help somebody out. So
definitely. And that's what I love about this community. It's so helpful at the same time, but you got to find the right community of it. And that's the thing. Definitely surround yourself with good people. And with that being said, I appreciate you coming on the Organically Blunt show. You enjoy the rest of your evening, and you're always welcome to come back anytime. If you have any news or anything you want to share, don't hesitate to hit me up. So thanks for enjoying the show, everybody. And as I always say, stay organically blunt. Have a good night, everybody.
As we close this chapter of Organically Blunt, immense gratitude to our exceptional partners who fuel our growth journey. Seedsman Genetics, the seasoned seed bank with over 2 decades of experience. Grow Bag, your trusted storage solution to protect terps. Gorilla Grow Tent, crafting spaces for cultivating dreams. Kind LEDs, illuminating your green haven. Country Roots Soil and Amendments, nurturing roots for success. Atlas Seeds, a source of pure genetic treasures. Green Wolf Genetics, creators of botanic magic. Smoke and Stork Genetics, where passion meets potency. Humboldt Seed Company, committed to cultivating excellence. Extreme Gardening, elevating your gardening game. Rain Science Grow Bags, redefining plants' homes. 420 Fast Buds, pioneers of fast and furious growth. Captain Redbeard Seeds, sailing the seas of genetic innovation. Aero Mixer, the rheumatic heartbeat of your grow. Petra Tools, your trusted garden companions. SoFem Genetics, sowing seeds of FEMS and Build-A-Soil, building the foundation of your organic oasis. Lost Close Plant Therapy, healing and enhancing plant vitality. Unlock these exclusive deals with coupon code Organically Blunt at checkout. Until our next episode, stay connected and keep growing, and as always, stay organically blunt.